Do you think Panama is just about the canal and white sand beaches? Well, wait until you find out they have no military. You can actually get fined $10,000 just for tossing a cigarette butt. Car horns go beep beep as a greeting. And, yeah, they once begged the U.S. to become a state 15 times. Even the Guna tribe is ready to kick out guests if you call them Panamanian. Or, what about the lives of men in places where they're treated like kings? Alright, let's get started. Number 15. Panama proposed to the U.S. 15 times before becoming an independent nation in 1903. Panama had a bold but rather awkward dream to become a state of the United States, not just once but 15 times over almost half a century. Panamanian politicians sent official proposals and diplomatic requests, hoping to collectively gain U.S. citizenship. So why did Panama want that? The answer lies in its golden geopolitical location. Panama owns the narrowest land bridge connecting North and South America, what would later become the legendary Panama Canal. At the time, Panamanians realized that real power was in America's hands, especially after the French failed to build the canal. They believed that becoming the 46th state after Utah but before Oklahoma would help Panama modernize quickly, ensure security, and develop sustainably under Uncle Sam's wing. But the U.S. refused, not once but 15 times in a row. Why? America wanted Panama to remain independent on paper to make it easier to control the canal without having to treat it fairly as an official state. It was kind of a political friend zone, yeah, weird but effective, that made Panama the only country in the Americas to be rejected for statehood by the U.S. more times than Hawaii or Alaska. Today, even though Panama is independent, the relationship between the two countries is still very close. Panama uses the U.S. dollar, has hundreds of thousands of American residents, and was once home to the U.S. Southern Command headquarters. But that story of proposing and being rejected remains one of the strangest historical facts that honestly few people know. Number 14. A tribe where men can't be in charge. On the Caribbean coast in northeastern Panama, stretching across nearly 370 islands, lies Gunayala, a semi-autonomous territory with its own identity and laws. It has such strong national pride that just calling them Panamanian might get you asked to leave the island. The Guna people, about 50,000 strong, roughly 1.2% of Panama's population, don't see themselves as a minority group of the country. Panama's constitution recognizes Gunayala as a semi-autonomous region where the Guna have full control over natural resources, tourism, construction, and even their own immigration laws. No politician, business, or organization can operate here without approval from the Congreso General, the All People's Council. This self-rule comes with deep pride. To the Guna, they don't belong to Panama, they are Guna. Their society is organized through a native democratic council system where all decisions are discussed openly. Women play the central role. They own land, inherit property, and are the only ones allowed to create and wear the traditional mola clothing. Any outsider man who wants to marry a Guna woman must live with her family and go through a ceremony approved by the Elders' Council. Visitors to Gunayala must strictly follow the rules. No filming children, no drones, no hard liquor, and especially don't ask questions like, why don't you move to the mainland? It's considered a direct insult to their independent identity. Though 80% of their islands sit less than 1 meter above sea level, the Guna refuse to leave their homeland. When tides threaten their homes, they don't ask for aid. They build floating villages from recycled wood, boats, and bamboo poles. This survival model was listed by the United Nations in 2021 as a case study of indigenous climate adaptation. Think tattoos are just for self-expression? For the Ember, one of Panama's most mysterious and traditional tribes, tattoos are a survival shield. Sounds strange? You should know that here people don't get tattooed for beauty but to protect their skin from the sun. Today, about 30,000 Ember live throughout Panama, mainly near Chagres National Park. In the past, they lived deep in the Darien jungle, where reaching them required 6 to 10 hours of hiking through forests, swamps, and rivers. Due to tough conditions and the need for medical and educational access, many Ember now live closer to city edges but fiercely keep their traditions. You'll spot them instantly. Shirtless men, women in short woven skirts, and bodies covered with mysterious black patterns from arms and legs to backs and even faces. These aren't permanent tattoos. They use a special ink from the jaguar fruit, a native plant that's like their magic fruit. Jaguar ink stains the skin for 10 to 15 days, then fades away like an invisible shield. In the past, only shamans or tribal leaders could tattoo others, since each pattern symbolized health, spirit, or protection for jungle journeys. But today these tattoos have a new use. They help reduce UV damage. Yes, you heard that right. The Ember believe the black ink helps their skin resist sunburn, a kind of traditional biological sunscreen that's hundreds of years old and still being studied by scientists today. Number 12, Panama's unspoken social taboos. In Panama, don't be alarmed by the beep-beep of car horns. They're not mad, they're just saying hello or thank you. But behind those smiles are unwritten rules, and if you slip up, you might accidentally offend the locals. Remember, pointing with your index finger is a cultural no. You should gesture with an open hand, especially with elders. Handshakes in Panama should be gentle, not too firm. Women usually don't shake hands, but just touch cheeks. And you should follow suit to avoid seeming overly familiar. When chatting, don't get straight to the point. Small talk is an essential art and is rarely skipped. If you stand too far from someone, they'll think you're unfriendly. Stand too close or touch shoulders, especially with Guna people. And you might be asked by a community leader to leave the island immediately. Another unspoken rule, strong body odor or even being too scentless can be frowned upon. Many offices actually ban heavy perfumes. While Americans might say no directly, Panamanians often use roundabout ways to say it. Some topics that are casual in the U.S. are hot buttons in Panama. Politics, especially the U.S. and the canal, religion, gender, race, and even soccer. Best to avoid them if you don't want to spark an argument. Number 11. Panamanians have invisible visas to live in over 10 countries. It sounds unbelievable, but Panamanians can live, work, and stay long-term in over 10 countries without a visa, thanks to a network of old but still valid treaties called invisible doors in the world of immigration. These agreements let Panamanians move freely to places where citizens of other countries spend years getting paperwork. Did you know that with just a Panamanian passport, you can legally settle in Colombia, Spain, Chile, Ecuador, Peru, Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and a few other Latin American countries with just a few simple steps? Some don't even require proof of finances, which is extremely rare in global immigration law. What's surprising is that most foreigners, even Americans and Europeans, don't know about this because the treaties were signed during colonial or early independence times, but still quietly apply today. In fact, Spanish law lets Panamanians apply for citizenship after just 2 years of legal residency instead of the usual 10 years for non-EU citizens. Number 10. Panama has no military. Panama is one of the few countries in the world with no standing army, and it's not by accident but a bold historical choice. After the military dictatorship of General Manuel Noriega was overthrown in 1989 by the U.S. Just Cause operation, Panama's government decided to go in a completely new direction. Abolish the military altogether. By 1994, this decision was written into the Constitution, making it illegal to ever form a standing army again. Instead of armed forces, Panama relies on civil security agencies like the National Police, Border Patrol, Coast Guard, and Internal Intelligence to keep order. These forces have no tanks, no missiles, and no fighter jets. They act more like peacekeepers than soldiers. The result is amazing. For over 30 years, Panama has stayed politically stable and is experiencing strong economic growth, especially thanks to the Panama Canal, which handles 5% of global trade. Panama stands out. While other countries spend billions on defense, Panama invests in education, healthcare, and infrastructure. Number 9. Don't pat locals on the shoulder. In the U.S. or many Western countries, a pat on the shoulder is seen as friendly, encouraging, or just a way to start a conversation. In Panama, however, it can be viewed as invading personal space or even as a challenge. For Panamanian men, especially those middle-aged or older, a pat on the shoulder isn't a sign of closeness. It can be interpreted as calling someone out or as a subtle challenge to status. In tense situations, such as arguments, minor traffic disputes, or bar altercations, a pat on the shoulder can be seen as a provocation and things can escalate quickly. In Panama, touching others, even in ways that seem harmless, comes with cultural boundaries. Affectionate gestures like putting your arm around someone, hugging, or kissing are reserved for close friends or family. Tip for visitors. If you want to show goodwill, use eye contact, kind words, and a smile instead of physical contact. In Panamanian culture, respecting personal space means respecting someone's dignity. Number 8. The one area you shouldn't visit at night. In Panama City, there's one name that both locals and police are wary of: San Miguelito. You won't find this area marked in red on tourist maps, but on the survival map of Panamanians, it's always circled with an exclamation mark. San Miguelito isn't just a district, it's a world of its own. Crowded, chaotic, and existing alongside the glitz of downtown Panama City, its narrow streets wind between packed houses and makeshift shacks of tin and bricks. Kids play soccer in the streets while motorbikes weave through the concrete maze. But the crime rate here is enough to make anyone nervous. According to 2023 data from Panama's Ministry of Security, over 30% of incidents affecting locals and 45% of robberies in the capital happen in San Miguelito. At night, many taxi drivers refuse to take passengers there. Some locals describe it as a lawless land. After 9 p.m., police patrols are rare, public cameras are vandalized, and people rarely report crimes. They're just too used to it. If you find yourself in a strange alley after 10 p.m. and hear footsteps behind you, the advice is simple. Don't look back. Just walk as fast as you can. Number 7. Toboga, the island where men are treasured. In total contrast to the Gunayala people, just about 12 miles away by sea on Toboga Island, men are treated like gold. This is one of the rare places in the world where a single man can become the #1 star just by stepping off the ferry. 70% of the island's residents are women, and men, especially foreigners, are considered a precious resource. According to local statistics, among the roughly 1,000 permanent residents, there are fewer than 120 men under 40. Many young men leave the island to work in Panama City or abroad, leaving behind a multi-generational community of women, from elderly fruit vendors to young women running seaside cafes. Number 6. Littering in public places can get you fined $10,000. Panama, especially Panama City, is known for having some of the strictest public cleanliness laws in Latin America. According to city regulations, urinating in public, littering, or throwing cigarette butts on the sidewalk can get you fined anywhere from $100 up to $10,000 depending on the severity of the violation and whether you're caught red-handed. Here's a fun fact that's also kind of scary. Panama even has a Facebook community called Los Coinos where people anonymously submit photos and videos of folks urinating, littering, or tossing bottles onto the street. These are posted publicly to shame offenders. Quite a few people have been identified, lost their jobs, or even had internet users track them down at home. The saying "the internet never forgets" is definitely true here. Panama City also invests heavily in a dense network of surveillance cameras, especially in the financial district, the historic Casco Viejo neighborhood, and major bus stations. Think no one's watching? The cameras see everything. Police might show up to question you just minutes after an incident, but it doesn't stop at fines. Over the past decade, the Panamanian government has invested more than $200 million in river cleanup campaigns, wastewater treatment, and environmental education. One of their biggest goals is to revive the Juan Diaz River and Panama Bay, both of which were once severely polluted by household wastewater. In many districts, you can even be fined if you don't sweep the sidewalk in front of your house every morning. This is an unwritten rule that reflects the mindset that cleanliness is a personal responsibility, not just the city's job. Number 5. Pets must have a passport. Panama is one of the first countries in Latin America to officially implement the pet passport system following international standards. With this special passport, a small dog in Panama can legally travel to many countries in Europe, South America, and even some states in the U.S. without the lengthy quarantine process that used to be required. This passport includes photo identification, vaccination records, medical checkups, and certification by Panama's Animal Quarantine Department. As long as your pet is healthy, vaccinated for rabies, and has a microchip, your furry friend can fly straight to Madrid, Bogota, or Paris, no visa needed. It might sound funny, but this has attracted thousands of expats living in Panama, especially couples or retirees from Canada, the US, and Europeans. People who can't bear to leave their pets behind on long trips will find Panama welcoming. According to Panama Veterinary Services, nearly 10,000 pet passports are issued each year, a number that has almost doubled in the last 5 years, thanks to the booming pets as family culture. Number 4, power and water outages are a daily thing in Panama. Yes, you heard that right. In popular places like Boquete, where thousands of Americans and Canadians choose to retire, or Bocas del Toro, a paradise island destination with overwater bungalows losing power for 3 to 8 hours a week is completely normal. Sometimes it's a couple of hours at noon, sometimes it's 6 hours in the middle of the night, and often there's no explanation. The no-warning situation has led many foreign visitors to jokingly call this the Panama Blackout Surprise. A 2022 survey by the Panama Clean Energy Initiative showed that over 60% of households in rural and semi-urban areas experience power or water outages at least twice a week. Why? Outdated power lines, thunderstorms knocking out substations, or sometimes the water pump just taking a break during peak hours. Long-term residents know the rule: always keep water jugs, flashlights, and backup chargers at home. Many families invest in their own generators, especially in resort areas or expat rentals, where even an hour without power can mean a 1-star review on TripAdvisor. And how do locals handle it? They're impressively calm. When the lights go out and the fans stop spinning, they step out onto the porch, make coffee on a gas stove, light candles, turn on a battery-powered radio, and just wait for the power to return, like they're waiting for an old friend to drop by. They call it natural break time. When your phone dies, the TV's off, and people go back to chatting, playing dominoes, or listening to the rain on the tin roof. Number 3, the world's most expensive coffee. At a small cafe in the charming Casco Viejo neighborhood, where mossy walls and rusty iron balconies evoke colonial Europe, you can order something special, a cup of Panama Geisha coffee for $75. Yes, just one cup. But inside is a universe of flavors. Gentle jasmine, bright Meyer lemon, and a lingering sweet mango finish like Panama's late afternoon sun on your tongue. This coffee is no joke. In 2019, Panama Geisha sold at auction for $2,568 a pound, making it the most expensive coffee in the world. It's grown on volcanic slopes in Boquete, where red soil, mist, and elevations above 1,500 meters create a flavor treasure the world fights over bean by bean. But if you think every Panamanian sits around sipping geisha on leather chairs while reading philosophy, step outside the cafe. Just a few blocks away, under an old tamarind tree, you'll find a shiny stainless steel cart where the vendor serves Café Negro, traditional black coffee for just 50 cents to $1. That's actually the more common coffee in Panama. And if you truly want to understand the country, try both. On one side, a pricey cup with layers of flavor in an air-conditioned room. On the other, a hot plastic cup on a dusty sidewalk surrounded by laughter, honking cars, and the rush of daily life. Number 2, time rules in Panama. If you've ever lived in Europe or the US, where being 5 minutes late could cost you a contract, you'll be surprised to find two sets of time rules in Panama, coexisting like parallel worlds. In business, Panamanians are very serious about punctuality. Business meetings, contract signings, and professional seminars usually start right on the dot, especially in banking, law, or import-export, the country's top industries. A survey by the Panama Business Journal found that over 75% of businesses in Panama City require employees to arrive 5 minutes early for every meeting. Being on time here shows respect, professionalism, and if you're a foreigner, it's the key to making a good impression with local partners. But step out of the office and it's a whole different story. In everyday social life, Panama runs on something called Hora Panamena, Panama time, which basically means take it easy. There's no need to be on time. An invitation might say a birthday party starts at 7. Relax, the host might still be blow-drying their hair at 7:15. Show up on time and you might end up helping set up the chairs. For birthdays, small weddings, barbecues with friends, or local festivals, it's totally normal for people to arrive 30 to 60 minutes late. This flexible approach to time reflects Panama's laid-back, tranquilo lifestyle. With its tropical climate, rivers, and rainforests, the country has developed a no-rush attitude, much like the canal that quietly connects two oceans. Number 1, in Panama, car horns are a language of their own. If you're visiting Panama City for the first time, you might wonder, why is everyone honking all the time? Is there a sound battle in this traffic jam? But don't get mad. In Panama, honking isn't an insult. It's actually a unique way of communicating, like talking with sound. A quick beep might just mean, I'm here, heads up. 2 short beeps, that's gracias. A friendly thank you from a driver who was let in, but if you hear 3 strong, quick beeps, it probably means let me through, please. Not exactly angry, but definitely urgent. It may sound strange, but for Panamanians, this is just everyday life. According to the Autoridad de Tránsito y Transporte Terrestre, Panama City alone has over 480,000 private cars, while the whole metro area has about 1.5 million people, meaning there's 1 car for every 3 people. Traffic jams are a daily thing, especially at 7 in the morning and 5 in the evening. In this world of engine noise and exhaust, the horn becomes a quick, direct way to speak, sometimes even more pleasant than, say, a random shout. Interestingly, while in New York or Los Angeles honking is often seen as aggressive or angry, in Panama it's like a mobile doorbell, a familiar background sound that nobody really minds. What about you? If you lived in a city where you hear a horn every 10 seconds, would you adapt, go crazy, or learn to honk back? So we've just taken a tour through Panama's quirky rules, strange taboos, and laws that sound like jokes, but are very real. Which one shocked you the most? Or have you ever unknowingly broken one of these laws? If you love discovering weird cultural facts, unwritten rules, and unbelievable truths from around the world, hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video.